So it is Tuesday, Yud Aleph Nisan, Yom HaBoyer, Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday. It's Tafshin Ayin Ches, and we're in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamar Tafshin Yud Gimel. We're starting a new Maimer on page Kuf Samach Vov of the second day of Shavuos, Tafshin Yud Gimel. Vayedaber and Hashem spoke all these words, so to say. Anochi Vayedaber, I am Hashem your God, Asher Yitzisicha me'eretz Mitzrayim, who has taken you out from the land of Egypt, mibeis avodim, from the house of slavery. This is the pasuk, of course, with which the giving of the Torah opens up. It's the opening pasuk describing the giving of the Torah and the Ten Commandments. The tzarich lahavin, we need to understand, asks the Rebbe, mashakosov lemer. Why in this verse is it written lemer, so to say? What's the problem? Wherever in the Torah it says the word lemer, the intention is, the meaning is that Moshe should repeat it on, should say it to the Jewish people, to the Yidden, who did not hear this from Hashem. Meaning to say that when Hashem gives Moshe a commandment, he says to him, I'm giving you the commandment for you to go on and repeat it to the Yidden. But this cannot be the meaning here at the giving of the Torah. Why? But when it came to the giving of the Torah, Har Sinai, all Jews were present at Sinai, at the giving of the Torah. And they themselves heard the commandments from Hashem. So there was no one to repeat it to. Everybody that needed to hear it was present. Therefore, the question is, what is the meaning of the word lemer in this verse? And even according to the opinion of the commentaries that say that generally the Yidden heard the commandments from Moshe through Moshe, meaning to say that Hashem spoke them to Moshe and Moshe did repeat them to the Yidden. That's fine. Besides, for the first two commandments, when it comes to the first two commandments, all commentaries agree that they heard it from Hashem. As the Talmud says, on the verse, Moshe commanded us the Torah. So the Gemara says there, Torah b'gematria tafresh yud aleph. The word Torah is the numerical value of 611. We know that there are 613 mitzvahs. So why is Torah the numerical value of 611? Because Torah tziva lanu Moshe. 611 commandments Moshe instructed us. And Anochi Vayedaber mipi agvura shamaynu. But the two first commandments of the 10, which are Anochi and Le'yir, we heard it from Hashem. So therefore, even according to the commentaries that say that all the rest of the commandments Moshe repeated to the Moshe said to the Yidden, we didn't hear it directly from Hashem. Nevertheless, the first two, everyone agrees we heard directly from Hashem. And the kiva shatevas leimer nichtav akedem Anochi Vayedaber, being that the word leimer in this verse is written before the commandments of Anochi and Vayedaber, before the first two. Therefore, the word lemer also must be referring to the first two commandments. And as explained, generally lemer means to repeat. So therefore it's not understood. What is intended What is the meaning of the word leimer? Being that at least the first two commandments, Shama Kol Yisrael Ba'atzmam Pi Gvura, they themselves, all Yidden themselves heard it directly from Hashem. Says the Rebbe, perhaps it means leimer for future generations. Says the Rebbe, Ve'ein leimer shakavana v'teves leimer yishameshu yemer al deres aboyim. We cannot say that the meaning of the word leimer is that Moshe should say it for future generations, not the generation of Sinai. We can't say that is the meaning. Why? Shagam kol hasidim lihiboros at seif kaladeris amdu imam b'har Sinai. Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer states that also all future generations to be created until the end of all generations were present at Sinai at the giving of the Torah. So therefore, there was no one to repeat it to. And also we need to understand why this long language, this elaborate language, I am Hashem your God, etc. Seems to be a shorter, more efficient way of saying this. It would seem he does not have to use all the three expressions of Anochi, Hashem, Elekecha. Why? Because there's a shorter way of saying it. By a maspik, it seems it would be enough for the verse to state, for Hashem to say, Anochi asher etzisicha, I am the one who took you out from Egypt. We also need to understand why does he say, I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out from the land of Egypt, from the house of slavery? Why is it necessary to use the two expressions, the land of Egypt and the house of slavery? It would seem it would be sufficient if he said, I have taken you out from the house of slavery. Why? Because what is the point of mentioning the fact that he took the Jews out of Egypt in this context? For the general idea of mentioning the exodus of Egypt, the exodus from Egypt, who Kamayim and Azal, is as the sages state. In the Medrash, Hashem says, I have taken you out on this condition, for this purpose, so that you should accept my godliness upon you. You should accept me as a God. Right? So surely the main point is to mention that I've taken you out from being a slave to Egypt so you could serve me. So therefore, what's the main point? The main point is the fact that we left the house of slavery. What's the difference whether this house of slavery was in Egypt or in another place? Therefore, it seems it would be sufficient if the verse stated, I took you out from the house of slavery. Who Oisbeis Zog the Rebbe. For Inyan who didn't exceed the idea is this, says the Rebbe. The verse states in Mishlei, I was by him a suckling. What is this a reference to? This is a reference to Torah. And it was like an infant with Hashem, near Hashem. Amain, the word amain is also from the expression of umnus, uman. It could mean like a workman, like an expert, right? Or it could be a craftsman. Either craftsman or the tools with which a craftsman does his work. in this context, what does that mean? Amru Chazal, our sages say in Medrash, HaTorah in Medrash, the Torah declares, Ani hayisi kleim nosir shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I was the crafting tool of Hashem. In what sense? Here it doesn't mean crafting tools, but it means materials with which the craftsman needs, the materials that the craftsman needs in order to carry out his work. What does it mean in this context? Ma ha'umen, just like the craftsman. Top of page Kuf Samach Zayin. Difterois upikinsois yeshlei, ladas heich eisach adorim. A craftsman has drawings and blueprints to know how to make the different rooms. So too Hashem looked into the Torah and created the world. The last part is a quote from the Zohar. Hashem looked into the Torah and created the world. What does that mean? From this it is understood that all matters that exist in the world exist first in Torah. And after they exist in the Torah, they were also drawn down where? Into the world. Now the Rebbe moves from there to man. V'hinei ksiv, and we find that the Torah states, Zeis HaTorah Adam. The simple definition of this pasuk is, this is a verse that talks about the dinim of Tumah V'Tahara, ritual impurity. So the Torah discusses the impurity if there's a deceased person in a building, in a ohel, in a tent, in a covered building. So it says Zeis HaTorah Adam ki yamas ba'el. This is the law concerning a person who passes away ba'el in a tent or in a covered domain. In the deeper sense, this can also be read Zeis HaTorah Adam. Right? That this Torah is man. What does that mean? So if we move from point to point here, it works like this. He says, first of all, that Torah is the blueprint of Hashem's blueprint with which He created the world. Everything that exists in the world exists in Torah. It exists first in Torah, and from that, it moves on to exist in the world. If Adam is also Torah, what does that mean? It means that all the matters that you find in the world, you also find in man. If the Torah is the blueprint of the world, and Torah is also Adam, right? The Torah reflects in man. Therefore, man also contains within him all aspects that there are in the world. Meaning to say, that the matters of the world are present also in man. The kivan shahu adam hu elam katan, being that man is a small universe, a small world, as it says in the Medrash. V'ha'elam hu guf gadol, and conversely, the world is a large body. Meaning to say that in the microcosm, we find everything from that there is in the world we'll find in man, and in the macrocosm we will find, right, in the world, obviously in a far grander manner, all the things that we find in man. Therefore, all matters that there are in the world are also there in man. What is the point? Says the Rebbe, what's the bottom line? What's the main point? Simple terms, it means that whatever there is in the world is to be found also in man and in Torah. V'hini, says the Rebbe, the world generally is divided into 4 types. All things that exist in the world fall into one of 4 categories. Doimim tzemeach chai medaber. Inanimate or silent, tzemeach vegetable, chai living, medaber speaking. Sug hadoimim, who the inanimate type, the silent type, is such that not only doesn't it have a life energy similar to the life energy that you find in a living creature, an animal. The point that it makes here is this. The difference between a living creature and a vegetable, a plant, something that grows, is they both obviously have a life force which sustains them, right? An obvious life force that sustains them. How do we see this? Not only sustains them because we can see that they grow. Even a vegetable, a tree, a plant grows, right? An animal obviously has a consciousness which goes beyond the life force that is present in the vegetable. The doimim, the inanimate, the silent type, has obviously also has a life force, but not even the life force at the level of the vegetable. There's no growth. We don't see any sign of life, as it were, in the type in the doimim. So let's see if we did attached to Swiss. Not only does the doimim, the inanimate, not have a life energy like the chai type, like the animal type, it doesn't even have a soul, a life energy of the growing, of the vegetable. Through which the growth from small to big takes place. What does the type, the silent type have? It has a soul that only, a very basic soul. It brings it into being. It causes it to be. And after it causes it to be, after it causes it to be, after that it also sustains it. So it brings it into being, and it's sustained by this life energy. As the Alter states in the section of Tanya Sharichel V'Emunah B'Shem Arizal, in the name of the Ari, Shegam B'Doimim Mamish, this is basically a direct quote from Tanya, that even in this, something which is completely silent, inanimate, Yesh Bechinas Nefesh, there is a type of soul, V'Chayes Ruchnis, and a spiritual life. But it's a very basic one. Brings it into being and causes it to exist. L'maylam is higher than this, who Sugat Tzemeach is the vegetable type. Sheyesh Beitzmicha Mekatnos Gadlos, where there is growth from it being small to becoming big. Yet it doesn't have a life energy as in the animal type. L'maylam is beyond the Tzemeach is Husuga Chai, is the living type. Sheyesh Bechayes, it has a life energy. Shu'inin Hergish, it's the idea of a consciousness. V'gam Inyan Seichel, it also has an aspect of intellect. Kamesha Kosov, as the verse states, Yoda Sheir Kineu, that an ox knows its owner. So animals do have intellect. We also find in the sages state, in the Talmud, Shul Pekeach Shebechayes, concerning the fox, for example, it says that it's the cleverest among the animals. It's connected to the idea of intellect, Hainu. Sheyesh Bem Seichel Binyanei Makaporim, that they have intellect, at least insofar as their matters are concerned. So therefore it could be cunning, etc., etc. Well, the Mailam is higher than this. Is Husuga Medaber is the human, the speaking type, that reference to the human beings. What is the main virtue of the human? It's not intellect, says the Rebbe, because intellect, or a type of intellect, we can find also in animals. The idea is that a human being has an aspect which goes even beyond intellect. which is denoted in the description of the human as medaber. We'll see how the Rebbe will explain that, how that the description medaber it describes something which is even beyond intellect. The inyan zeh, the conclusion of the point is, says the Rebbe, the virtue of the human in this aspect which goes even beyond intellect, misgala, reveals itself or expresses itself, expresses itself, besug hademim dafke, specifically in the inanimate type. So in other words, there's a link in the highest virtue, meaning man, human, who's referred to as medaber. So there's a link between that and the sug hademim, the silent type, and that daimim aspect within the human expresses his highest virtue. Continue Mitzvah on Thursday.